The dark expanse of the Varnis sector stretched endlessly, dotted with faint glimmers of distant stars. Among them drifted the massive form of a human ship, the Aegis Vanguard. To any ordinary observer, it looked like just another vessel, its hull scarred by years of travel and minor skirmishes. But to the Zetherians, a proud and technologically advanced alien race, curiosity had already taken root. They had detected the ship weeks ago, floating near a neutral asteroid belt, and their advanced scanners had picked up something unusual. "Commander Still, it's only a human vessel," said Lieutenant Vrex, his voice tinged with amusement. "Nothing remarkable. Just a standard cargo ship, old and slow." Commander Still, a tall Zetherian with iridescent skin that shimmered in the dim light of their mothership, frowned. "Do not underestimate humans, Lieutenant. They are primitive, yes, but every time we dismiss them, we are surprised." The Zetherian fleet had been tracking human activity for decades. Humans were considered technologically inferior, but their resilience and unpredictability were always a point of concern. Still's curiosity was not just professional, it was personal. He had studied humans extensively and believed he could predict their moves. Today he intended to test that belief. "Prepare the long-range scan," he ordered. "Let's see what secrets this vessel hides." The scanning probes detached from the Zetherian mothership, sleek silver devices designed to penetrate even the thickest hulls. They glided toward the human ship like silent predators, their sensors humming quietly. Inside the Aegis Vanguard, the human crew went about their business, unaware of the alien eyes already upon them. Captain Elena Riker leaned back in her command chair, fingers tapping rhythmically on the armrest. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the holographic monitors before her. The crew knew better than to disturb her when she was in this state. "Status?" she asked, not looking up. "Routine check, Captain," replied Lieutenant Malik, the ship's engineer. "Everything is green. Systems are running at full efficiency. Arena simulations indicate we're ready for the tournament." "Elena," said Ensign Tara, the youngest crew member, her voice tinged with excitement, "we're passing through the Varnis sector. Isn't that the area known for alien patrols?" Elena finally looked at her. A small smile curved her lips. "Let them come. We've been through worse. Stay focused on your stations." Back on the Zetherian mothership, the probes had reached the human ship. Commander Still watched intently as the scanners hummed and lights blinked, analyzing every inch of the Aegis Vanguard. The data streams flowed into the mothership's mainframe, and for a moment everything seemed normal. Then the scanners began to flicker. "Commander." "The readings. They're unstable," Lieutenant Vrex shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "What do you mean unstable?" Still demanded. He leaned closer to the display, his claws tapping nervously against the console. "The ship, it's like it's hiding from us." "No, not hiding, it's reacting, adjusting. The hull configuration is changing, adaptive, dynamic. We've never seen anything like this." Still's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Humans cannot create such technology." "Check again. Is it a malfunction?" Vrex's tentacles flew across the controls. "No, Commander. All systems are fine. It's the ship itself. The Aegis Vanguard is resisting our scan." The Zetherians stared at the monitor in disbelief. Their probes had been designed to scan the most sophisticated vessels in the galaxy. Ships twice the size, 3 times the speed, and with defenses that could crush an entire fleet. Yet here was a human ship defying logic. Still's mind raced. Could it be a trap? Humans were known for their unpredictability, but no one had ever witnessed technology actively countering a scan. He narrowed his eyes. "Prepare a small boarding probe. We'll get closer and see what tricks they're hiding. We must understand before we make a move." Meanwhile, on the human ship, Elena and her crew had begun to notice something strange on their monitors. Energy fluctuations. Tiny, barely noticeable, but there. "Captain," Malik said cautiously, "there's an external scanning attempt. Nothing harmful yet, but it's probing our systems." Elena's eyes glinted. "They're curious. Good, let's give them a show." Tara looked confused. "A show, Captain? Do you mean—" "Yes, Tara," Elena interrupted gently. "Humans have a way of teaching lessons without firing a shot." The boarding probe detached from the Zetherian ship, small but heavily armed. It hummed through space, scanning as it approached the Aegis Vanguard. On board the human ship, the crew watched the probe on their tactical screens, analyzing its design and trajectory. Standard Zetherian surveillance probe, Elena said, leaning forward. Light armor, predictable flight patterns. Easy enough to counter if we stay calm. Malik smirked. You want me to show them a little human hospitality? Elena nodded. Make it memorable but clean. Let them know humans are not what they expect. With a few keystrokes, Malik activated a defensive system normally used in arena simulations. Tiny micro-drones, each no larger than a fist, deployed silently from the ship's hull. They swarmed toward the probe at incredible speed, adjusting in real time to every maneuver the probe attempted. On the Zetherian mothership, the view of the probe was suddenly interrupted by static. The probe twitched violently, then disappeared entirely from the scanners. Commander, the probe? It's gone, I don't understand. Vrex stammered, still slammed a claw against the console, rage and confusion mingling in his voice. Impossible. That probe is indestructible. Tell me it survived. There's no signal, sir, Vrex admitted, voice trembling. It was destroyed. Or absorbed, or something else. Something we cannot identify. Still turned away from the console, pacing in the observation chamber. He had faced human ingenuity before, but never like this. Humans were clever, yes, but they were also reckless and fragile. Yet this ship, this Aegis Vanguard, defied expectations at every turn. Prepare the fleet for possible engagement, Still ordered, his voice cold. But we proceed cautiously. This is no ordinary human ship, it is alive. Back on the human ship, Elena watched the monitors with quiet satisfaction. They scanned first, she said, almost to herself. They never learn. Tara looked at her in confusion. Captain, did you just... Elena smiled. Let them think they know. Humans are always underestimated. That's our advantage. The crew continued their work, unaware of the growing panic on the Zetherian mothership. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, but one small human ship stood as a silent, unstoppable force in the darkness. Its hull gleamed faintly in the starlight, unassuming yet lethal. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, an alien race had just learned that curiosity about humans came with consequences. The Varnus sector would not forget this encounter. The Zetherians would speak in hushed tones of the ship that defied all logic, the crew that outwitted their probes, and the humans who fought without firing a single shot. For Elena and her crew, it was just another day. For the Zetherians, it was the beginning of a lesson they would never forget. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and far more dangerous than they appeared. The Zetherian fleet was in chaos. Commander Still had never faced such a situation. No scan, no probe, no fleet in history had been able to evade or destroy their surveillance with such efficiency. The Aegis Vanguard had done so effortlessly. Commander, they're mocking us, Lieutenant Vrex said, his antennae twitching nervously. The ship, it's taunting our fleet, signals, codes. We can't decipher them. Still clenched his claws. He had predicted human cleverness before, but never like this. Every detail they scanned seemed to warp, adapt, and escape. Their technology was supposed to be flawless, yet here it was, failing against a single human ship. Prepare a close-range scan, Still ordered. We need real data. Now we are not just curious. We are being challenged. The Zetherian ships adjusted course, moving cautiously closer to the Aegis Vanguard. Each ship bristled with weapons and defensive arrays ready for engagement, but wary. Humans were small and fragile compared to Zetherian warships. Yet something about this vessel unnerved them. On board the Aegis Vanguard, Elena and her crew monitored the approaching fleet. Captain, Malik said, pointing at the holographic display, they're coming closer. All ships at approach vectors 23 to 27. They're scanning, probing, probably trying to figure out what hit their probe. Elena leaned back in her chair, calm as ever. Good, let them approach. Let them see how humans operate. Don't let them guess our full strength yet. Tara frowned. Captain, why not just attack them? We could disable them before they get any closer. Elena shook her head. No, that would be obvious. Humans survive because we are unpredictable. Sometimes survival is best shown through restraint and cleverness, not raw force. As the Zetherian fleet moved into scanning range, their long-range sensors once again attempted to analyze the human ship. Data streams flickered, alarms rang, and consoles flashed red with errors. Commander, Vrex shouted, his voice filled with panic. The readings, they're contradictory. The ship is larger than it appears, yet smaller. Weapons are inactive, yet their energy output. It's massive. I don't understand. Still's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Humans cannot develop technology capable of such inconsistency. He turned to his science officer. Cross-check. Could this be some sort of arena system? A simulation technology? The science officer shook his head. No, Commander. Simulation tech cannot exist outside controlled environments. Yet these readings, they match no known system in the galaxy. Still took a deep breath. Prepare a boarding probe. We need to see the vessel directly. If humans are this clever, we cannot rely on sensors alone. Inside the Aegis Vanguard, the crew was preparing for exactly such a scenario. The ship's automated systems had already detected the approach of foreign vessels and activated arena defense protocols, a set of adaptive responses designed to simulate hostile encounters during competitions. Deploy the drones, Elena ordered. Let's give them a warm welcome. From hidden compartments across the ship, hundreds of micro-drones emerged. Each was no larger than a hand, armed with adaptive shielding and tiny but precise disruptor emitters. They moved like swarms of fireflies, invisible at first, yet deadly when coordinated. The Zytharian fleet's sensors caught the movement, but too late. The first drone intercepted a scouting probe, analyzing its trajectory and countering in real time. The probe's weapons fired, but the drone twisted, bent, and absorbed the impact with precision that no Zytharian technology had ever achieved. Commander, Frex yelled, watching as the probe was torn apart in seconds. It's adapting. Every attack we launch, it's countered instantly. Still's eyes widened. Impossible. How can such a small human vessel anticipate our moves? How? On the human ship, Elena observed the chaos unfolding on the Zytharian monitors. They always scan first, she said softly, almost to herself. They never expect the scan to fight back, Malik smirked. It's beautiful, isn't it? Watching them flail. Tara watched wide-eyed. They don't stand a chance. How can one ship do this to a fleet? Elena leaned forward. It's not the ship, Tara, it's us. Humans think differently. We adapt, improvise, and survive in ways others cannot predict. The Zytharians scrambled. Their next move was to send a small assault team, elite boarding pods designed to overwhelm any human defenses. The pods detached from their ships, accelerating toward the Aegis Vanguard at high speed. The human ship's crew barely stirred. Engage the countermeasures, Elena ordered. Let them see what it means to underestimate humans. The micro-drones flared into coordinated action, forming a moving barrier around the ship. The boarding pods collided with energy fields that bent their trajectories unpredictably, throwing the elite teams into disarray. Automated targeting systems fired disruptor pulses, forcing pods to adjust constantly. Within moments, the Zytharian assault team's precision formation was destroyed. Pods collided, were deflected, or destroyed entirely. The crew of the Aegis Vanguard remained calm, almost bored, as they watched the alien panic unfold on the tactical displays. Captain, Malik said, they're pulling back. Their fleet. It's confused. Their systems are failing, Elena nodded. Good. Confusion is the first step toward respect. Let them feel it. Meanwhile, Commander Still's mind raced. Every decision he made was countered, adapted to, or outmaneuvered. The humans were not just defending, they were teaching. Every attack he initiated, every strategy he deployed, the humans anticipated and neutralized with elegance. We are losing control, Frex admitted, voice trembling. The humans, they are superior in ways we did not expect. We cannot predict them, Still clenched his claws. Predicting humans was always supposed to be easy. We have defeated every other species. Why is this one different? He stared at the holographic projection of the Aegis Vanguard. Its hull was scarred but unbroken. Its size seemed ordinary, yet its systems were extraordinary. Every scan, every probe, every attempt at understanding had failed. The humans were not only surviving, they were controlling the encounter. On the Aegis Vanguard, Elena allowed herself a small smile. She looked at her crew, each focused on their stations, each trusting in the systems and protocols she had designed. They were calm, confident, and prepared for whatever the galaxy could throw at them. Prepare for their next move, she said. They will not give up so easily, but neither will we. Outside, the Zytharian fleet adjusted their formation, hesitant but determined. They were powerful, yes, but uncertain. Every second brought new surprises, and their pride was being eroded with each passing moment. They had scanned a human ship, thinking it weak, primitive, and predictable, and the results were catastrophic. "Commander, still," the science officer said cautiously, "they are learning from us. The humans are studying our fleet while we study them. Every maneuver we make, they counter it almost before it happens." Still's eyes glinted with a mixture of fear and grudging respect. Humans, always underestimated, always. The first wave of attacks had been neutralized, yet the tension remained. The Zetherians could retreat, but that would mean admitting weakness, a concept almost impossible for their species. Their pride demanded engagement, yet every choice they made was countered with precision. "Captain," Tara said, voice quiet but eager, "they're trying to scan us again." Elena glanced at the approaching Zytherian vessels. "Let them try. Let them see that humans are more than machines. We fight with our minds, not just our weapons." As the human ship drifted calmly in the Varnus sector, surrounded by alien ships struggling to understand it, one truth became undeniable. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and terrifyingly clever. They had faced one of the most advanced races in the galaxy and turned their confidence into confusion. The Varnus sector seemed calm from a distance, the stars shining coldly across empty space, but the human crew aboard the Aegis Vanguard knew better. The calm was a mask. Outside, the Zetherian fleet struggled, unable to understand or predict what they were facing. Every move they made was countered, every strategy anticipated. "Captain," Malik said, eyes glued to his monitor, "they're reorganizing their fleet. They're going to try something bigger. The humans are not going to be underestimated for long." Elena Riker nodded. "Let them come. We're ready for whatever they throw at us." She leaned back in her chair, scanning the tactical displays. "The arena simulations prepared us for this. They don't know it yet, but they're about to play in our game." The Zetherians hesitated. Commander Still knew their pride would not allow retreat. Yet every attempt at understanding the Aegis Vanguard had failed. They had underestimated human creativity and adaptability, and the humans were about to demonstrate it fully. Still's voice boomed across the command deck of his flagship. "All ships engage adaptive counter-analysis. Track all human systems. Anticipate their moves. They cannot be allowed to control this encounter." But his officers were uneasy. The probes, the first wave of drones, even the boarding pods, all had been neutralized. Every method of engagement the Zetherians trusted had failed. Their fleet was powerful, but human ingenuity had turned it into a trap of indecision. On the human ship, the crew watched the Zetherians' movements carefully. Tactical displays showed the alien ships adjusting, trying to flank, trying to overwhelm, but always a step behind. "Captain," Tara said, pointing at a monitor, "they're splitting their forces. They think they can corner us, but the formation is predictable." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Predictable, yes, but that is exactly what we want them to think. Let them believe they have the advantage. Humans survive because we exploit assumptions, not brute force." Malik grinned. "So, we're going to lure them into a trap?" Elena nodded. "Exactly. But it has to look unplanned. That's the trick." The Aegis Vanguard drifted closer to an asteroid cluster, its dark silhouette blending with the rocky formations. The Zytherians, confident in their superior sensors, followed cautiously, convinced they were closing in on an easy target. Inside the ship, Elena initiated a sequence of maneuvers drawn from arena simulations. The ship's hull seemed to shift subtly, redirecting energy in ways the Zetherians could not predict. Microdrones flared out, invisible until they moved, creating patterns of defense that adapted instantaneously to every alien probe or missile. "Contact," Malik said calmly. "They've fired their first wave. Incoming weapons, high velocity." Tara watched as the holographic displays tracked the alien projectiles. "They're not hitting?" "Not yet," Malik replied with a grin. "The drones are intercepting them. Look closer." The micro-drones formed a moving wall of energy and precision. Every projectile the Zytherians fired was deflected, absorbed, or redirected. Lasers bent, missiles fizzled, and even the electronic jamming systems the aliens deployed were countered with algorithms that learned and adapted within seconds. On the Zetherian fleet, alarm bells rang endlessly. "Commander, the weapons, they're ineffective. Every attack we make is countered." Still's claws struck the console. "Impossible. Humans cannot anticipate every attack. How are they doing this? One of his science officers hesitated before speaking. Commander, it is not just technology. They are learning, analyzing, adapting in real time. It is as though the ship itself thinks like a human. Still's eyes narrowed. Humans are always clever, yes, but they cannot, no matter, engage manually, overwhelm them with numbers. The Zetherians shifted their formation, attempting to surround the human vessel. But every movement they made was anticipated. The Aegis Vanguard seemed to flow through the fleet like water through a maze. Drones intercepted approaching ships' targeting systems, disrupting their sensors. Automated decoys drew fire while the humans remained untouched. Elena leaned back, calm and composed. They always think numbers are strength. But numbers mean nothing when the enemy cannot predict you, Malik smirked. And they never expect the subtle stuff. Wait until they see this. With a few keystrokes, he activated a series of tactical holograms, creating the illusion of multiple ships around the Aegis Vanguard. The Zetherian scanners detected dozens of vessels, all moving in formation, all ready for attack. Panic spread. They were confident they could overwhelm a single human ship, but now they were faced with what appeared to be an entire fleet. Commander, Rex shouted, there are more ships.
They've multiplied.
Impossible. Still's claws tightened around the console. Illusions. They are illusions, but still effective. How do humans do this? Inside the Aegis Vanguard, Terra watched the alien fleet flail. Captain, they're terrified. They don't know which is real and which isn't. Elena smiled faintly. Exactly. Confusion is our greatest weapon. The Zetherians respect power, yes, but they fear the unpredictable. Humans are masters of the unpredictable. The Zetherians, desperate to regain control, fired volleys of energy at the holographic ships. Their weapons passed harmlessly through thin projections, wasting power and revealing their positions. The humans used the opportunity to move strategically, evading every attack. Malik tapped his console rapidly. Captain, we can push them further. We can make them think the fleet is closing in while we remain hidden. Elena's eyes gleamed. Do it, let them panic fully. They need to understand humans are not simple prey. As the alien fleet attempted to regroup, the Aegis Vanguard's micro-drones swarmed outward in a coordinated attack. They didn't destroy the ships directly. Instead, they disrupted systems, jammed communications, and created openings for psychological tactics. Every maneuver, every defensive measure taught the Zetherians that humans were not just clever, they were unpredictable masters of improvisation. Still's voice grew sharp with frustration. All ships, focus fire on their main hull. Neutralize the vessel at once. The Zetherian fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, the largest coordinated attack they had attempted. In any other encounter, it would have destroyed a human ship in seconds, but the Aegis Vanguard reacted before the first blast reached it. Automated shields flared to life, bending energy streams in impossible arcs. Drones intercepted projectiles mid-flight, redirecting them harmlessly into empty space. Energy output surged and diverted, creating reflections and decoys that left the Zetherians attacking phantoms. Inside the ship, Elena's crew remained calm. They're learning, Terra said in awe. Yes, Elena replied. And we are teaching them. Every move we make is a lesson they will never forget. The Zetherians' attacks began to falter. Ships collided. Some were forced into emergency maneuvers, and their coordination fell apart. Panic spread among their officers. For the first time, they realized that the humans were not just defending. They were controlling the encounter entirely. Still's voice was low, almost a hiss. Humans, they are too clever, too dangerous. We cannot predict them. Every tactic fails. The Aegis Vanguard drifted through the chaos, calm as if it were a ghost. Its crew observed, calculated, and adapted in perfect harmony. Every move was measured, every response precise. The humans were not just surviving. They were dominating without a single direct strike. Captain, Malik said, eyes fixed on the tactical display. They're retreating slightly. They respect us. Or fear us. Maybe both. Elena leaned back, her expression unreadable. Humans earn respect, not through brute force, but through ingenuity, strategy, and adaptability. Let them leave with that lesson. Outside, the Zetherians adjusted their course. They had survived, but only barely. They had scanned a human ship and learned that humans were not to be underestimated. In the silence of space, one truth became undeniable. Humans were clever, resilient, and dangerous in ways technology alone could never explain. The Zetherian fleet hung in the black emptiness of the Varnus sector, a web of metallic ships straining to maintain formation. Commander Still's pride had been wounded, but his strategic mind refused to surrender. The humans aboard the Aegis Vanguard had demonstrated mastery beyond anything the Zetherians had ever encountered. Each attempt to dominate had failed. Each probe, drone, and maneuver had been countered. Commander, Vrex's antenna twitched with agitation. Our scans, they are useless. Every system we analyze, they anticipate. They control our perception. Still's claws clenched on the console. I do not care what they are. They are human. They can be clever, yes, but no species can survive against the full might of Zetherian firepower. Prepare to engage fully. We overwhelm them. But even as he issued the order, hesitation lingered in the room. No one had faced a human vessel like this before. Not one had escaped without damage. Yet here was a single ship, not even fully armed for combat in their eyes, that had manipulated, outsmarted, and evaded them entirely. Inside the Aegis Vanguard, Captain Elena Riker monitored the approaching fleet. The ship's systems hummed quietly, adaptive drones patrolling the hull, energy fields flickering just beneath detection thresholds. They're preparing for a full assault, Malik noted, his hands moving rapidly over the control panels. I'd say they believe brute force will work this time. Elena's eyes gleamed. Then we'll show them why it never does. Humans fight on their own terms. Let's make them regret this. Tara leaned forward, anxious but excited. Captain, they're huge. Hundreds of ships. Even with our systems, can we? Elena cut her off with a calm smile. It's not about raw numbers, Tara. It's about unpredictability, strategy, adaptability. We are humans. We will not lose because we think like them. We win because we think like ourselves. The Zetherians advanced, firing volleys of energy weapons, their ships bristling with missiles and disruptor beams. In any other engagement, these attacks would have shredded a human vessel instantly. Yet the Aegis Vanguard moved like a ghost through space. Micro-drones swarmed outward, intercepting projectiles with precision. Lasers bent around energy shields. Missiles were rerouted mid-flight, and electronic attacks fizzled harmlessly against adaptive countermeasures. Every move the Zetherians made, the humans had anticipated, or created a trap for. Captain, they're trying a flanking maneuver, Malik reported. Left side, 3 squadrons. They want to corner us near the asteroid field. Elena nodded. Good. Let them believe they have the advantage. The closer they think they are to winning, the harder the fall will be. The Zetherians pressed forward, confident that their numbers would overwhelm the humans. They didn't realize that each human maneuver, each subtle shift in energy flow, each deployment of drones, had been calculated to exploit their assumptions. The humans were not just defending, they were orchestrating the battle like a master conductor guiding a symphony. Malik grinned. Time for Phase 2. On his command, hundreds of micro-drones moved in complex coordinated patterns. They created false signatures, illusions of multiple human ships appearing to engage the Zetherians from every angle. Energy bursts flared in unexpected directions, luring alien weapons fire into harmless empty space. Captain, Tara said, eyes wide. They're attacking. Nothing. All their shots are hitting illusions. Elena's calm smile never wavered. They think they're overwhelming us. But humans use every advantage the mind allows. They learn, they adapt, and they improvise. The Zetherians' fleet faltered. Ships collided in confusion, weapons misfired, and attempts to regroup failed. Commander Still's pride was a dangerous thing. It prevented retreat, but now it nearly destroyed his fleet. Fire everything. He bellowed, fury tinged with fear. Destroy that ship. I don't care what it takes. Malik and Elena exchanged a glance. Phase 3? Malik asked. Elena nodded. Yes, let's finish this lesson. The Aegis Vanguard activated its adaptive energy field fully, reflecting and dispersing the Zetherians' attacks while simultaneously deploying precision drones to disable key systems on the enemy ships. Every strike was measured, every counter precise. The alien fleet reeled as one by one, their ships were forced to adjust course, divert power to shields, and abandon coordination. Panic spread like wildfire. No human had fired a direct shot, and yet the Zetherians were on the defensive. Commander Still's voice cracked as he barked orders. All units, focus on their propulsion systems. Disable that ship. We will not fail. But the humans anticipated even this. The Aegis Vanguard's energy field adapted, redirecting power surges harmlessly into space. Microdrones interfered with propulsion systems, forcing the Zytherians to make split-second corrections, destabilizing their formation further. Tara watched in awe. Captain, they don't stand a chance. We're controlling them without even touching them. Elena's gaze was steady, confident. Humans survive because we do not rely on force alone. Strategy is our weapon, intelligence our shield. Let them learn that lesson fully. The Zytherians tried to regroup to create a concentrated strike, but the humans were always one step ahead. Illusions and real attacks blended seamlessly. Some human drones attacked weak points on the alien ships, causing malfunctions that spread like dominoes. Other drones redirected energy blasts into empty space, creating the illusion of a powerful counterattack that was, in reality, harmless. Panic gripped the Zytherian officers. They had faced advanced species, but never one that could manipulate an entire fleet psychologically while defending itself flawlessly. The Aegis Vanguard was teaching them a new kind of fear, the fear of unpredictability. Commander, the humans. Rex's voice trembled. They're everywhere. Or it feels like it. We cannot target them. We cannot strike them. It's overwhelming. Still's claws struck the console again. Impossible. Humans cannot be this clever. They cannot control an entire fleet like this. On the Aegis Vanguard, Elena allowed herself a small smile. The humans had created chaos without firing a single devastating weapon. The Zytherians' pride had been shattered, their confidence replaced with fear and confusion. Malik, Tara, keep pressure on them, she ordered. Do not let them think they understand us. Every move must be unpredictable, every response adaptive. Humans do not fight like machines. We fight with creativity, intelligence, and courage. The Zytherian ships were now scattered. Some had collided. Others were stuck in loops of defensive maneuvers. Commander Still watched helplessly as his fleet's control eroded under the humans' careful orchestration. Elena, Tara whispered, awe in her voice. They're retreating. They're leaving. Elena's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. They will retreat, yes, but they will remember this. Humans do not give respect lightly, and we never fight on their terms. Today they learned a lesson. Scanning humans is dangerous. Challenging them is deadly. As the Zytherian ships slowly withdrew, damaged but functional, the Aegis Vanguard drifted calmly in space. Its hull glinted faintly in starlight, almost serene after the chaos. The crew went about their stations, adjusting minor systems, but calm as always. Outside, the stars remained indifferent witnesses to the battle. But for one human ship and one fleet of shocked aliens, the events would never be forgotten. Humans had fought not with brute strength, but with mind, strategy, and ingenuity, and they had dominated. Captain, Malik said quietly, they'll remember us now. Everywhere in the sector they'll talk about this. Humans, they'll think twice before underestimating us again. Elena's gaze swept across the stars. They already have. Humans are not just survivors. We are creators, thinkers, and fighters in ways no one expects. And today we reminded the galaxy why. The Aegis Vanguard resumed its course, heading toward the next arena challenge. The Zytherians would tell stories of the human ship that controlled an entire fleet without even touching it. They would whisper warnings of its crew's intelligence and unpredictability. The Zytherian fleet limped away from the Varnish sector, battered, confused, and humiliated. Commander Still stared out at the stars, his pride wounded deeper than any physical damage. His fleet was intact, mostly, but the encounter with a single human ship had changed something fundamental. They cannot be understood, Rex muttered, barely able to articulate the shock and disbelief that gripped him. Their technology, their tactics, and it's beyond logic. Still did not answer immediately. He had faced countless species over his long career, studied the galaxy's most cunning commanders, and yet, he had never encountered a challenge like this. One human vessel, one crew, had turned his fleet into chaos without even firing a destructive salvo. They are too clever, the science officer whispered. Their ship, it adapts. Their minds, they anticipate every move we make. Still's gaze remained fixed on the distant stars where the Aegis Vanguard had disappeared. Humans were supposed to be primitive, inefficient, unpredictable, but always manageable. Not this time. Humans, he said slowly, cannot be underestimated. We must respect them, not for their firepower, but for their mind. On board the Aegis Vanguard, Captain Elena Riker allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The Zetherians were gone, their fleet retreating, yet she knew the impact of their encounter would ripple across the sector. Humans had demonstrated something the galaxy often overlooked. Intelligence, strategy, and ingenuity could dominate even the most powerful forces, Captain Malik said, leaning against his console. They'll spread stories about this. Everyone will hear what happened in the Varnis sector. Elena nodded. Good, let them talk. Let them whisper warnings of human capability. That is how we survive, how we thrive. Humans earn respect, not demand it. Tara, still in awe, asked softly, Captain, did we hurt them? I mean, we didn't fire, but... Elena shook her head gently. No, Tara. We taught a lesson, not inflicted destruction. Sometimes survival isn't about causing damage. It's about showing strength, showing intelligence. The Zetherians learned that today. They will think twice before scanning another human ship. The crew went about their stations quietly, checking systems, recalibrating the adaptive drones, and ensuring the ship was ready for the next arena challenge. For them, the encounter had been another simulation, only it had real consequences. Outside the ship, space remained indifferent, but in its emptiness, the story of human ingenuity had been written. News would travel slowly at first. Zetherian scouts would report their failure. Commanders would discuss tactics, and eventually, the entire sector would recognize that humans were not mere prey. Back on the Zetherian flagship, Commander Still gathered his officers. The room was heavy with silence, the air thick with frustration and disbelief. We scanned a human ship, Still said finally, voice low and measured. And we were bested. Not by numbers, not by technology, but by their mind. Understand this. Humans are not simple. They are adaptive, intelligent, and unpredictable. We underestimated them. That was our mistake, Vrex swallowed hard. Sir, what do we do now? Retreat, report? The truth? Still's gaze hardened. We survive. We recover, but we also remember. Humans are not to be underestimated, not ever. If we encounter them again, we approach with caution, with respect, and with preparation for anything. Across the galaxy, the lesson was spreading. Other species, once dismissive of humanity, began to take notice. The human's reputation was no longer that of a fragile, primitive species. Instead, whispers began. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of mastering situations far beyond expectations. On board the Aegis Vanguard, Elena and her crew set course toward the arena challenge. The tournament loomed ahead, a new test of skill, speed, and strategy. But the encounter with the Zetherians had already strengthened them. They had survived a trial that others could not imagine. Malik glanced at Elena. Captain, we made history today. They'll remember this for decades, maybe centuries. Elena's expression was calm, her voice steady. History remembers those who survive, those who adapt, those who fight on their terms. We have done that. Now we continue. Tara looked out the viewing port at the stars, awe in her eyes. Do you think they'll ever challenge us again? Elena smiled faintly. Perhaps. But next time they will think twice. Humans do not fight blindly. We plan, we adapt, and we endure. That is our strength. As the Aegis Vanguard moved through the void, its hull gleaming faintly in starlight, it became more than a ship. It became a symbol that humans, underestimated for so long, were now forces to be reckoned with, not through aggression alone, but through intellect, resilience, and strategy. The Zetherians' retreating fleet disappeared into the distance, but the memory of their failure remained vivid. Commander Still knew they had been lucky to escape with their lives, and somewhere deep in his mind he accepted a truth he had resisted for too long. Humans were not weak. Humans were dangerous. Back on the Aegis Vanguard, the crew celebrated quietly, not with loud fanfare, but with a sense of accomplishment and unity. They had survived. They had triumphed. And in doing so, they had reminded the galaxy that humans were not to be dismissed. Elena, Malik said softly, what now? Do we wait for them to recover? Elena shook her head. No. Humans do not wait for the galaxy to catch up. We move forward, stronger, wiser, ready for the next challenge. Let the Zetherians tell their stories. Let others hear and learn, and we prepare for what comes next. Terra, inspired, whispered, "Humans, we really are remarkable." Elena looked out at the stars, her gaze steady. "We are, but being remarkable isn't enough. We must always be ready, always be clever, and always fight on our own terms." The Aegis vanguard accelerated, leaving the Varna sector behind. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and unknown allies. But one truth had been firmly established. Humans were no longer a minor player. Humans were masters of their fate, unshakable in courage and unmatched in ingenuity. Somewhere across the stars, commanders and fleets would whisper the name of the ship that had dominated the Zetherians without a single destructive strike. And somewhere in the hearts of humans a quiet pride burned, a pride not of arrogance but of intelligence, unity, and strength. The stars stretched endlessly before them. The Aegis vanguard moved onward, a small ship in a vast universe, but one that carried humanity's spirit, ingenuity, and courage.